Well, good morning, everybody. Time for the Sheriff's Sit Down, presented by our great friends at Our Community Credit Union. We're just like pumpkin spice, eggnog, and peppermint. Holiday quick bucks from Our Community Credit Union, back for a limited time only. Check with them for details. During the Sheriff's Sit Down today, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Chief Deputy Ryan Spurling. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good to talk with you here, and we are on the heels of some big announcements from the governor moving forward for the next month or so in regards to coronavirus, some additional rollbacks, if you will. But some of the things you guys wanted to talk about today were issues and problems that arise because of COVID, but may not be, when you fill out the paperwork at the end of the day, you write COVID as the reason for this. Is that kind of what you wanted to do, Ryan?
Absolutely. Some people are coining the phrase echo pandemic.
Okay.
For example, in our community, we have 10 deaths attributed to COVID, but we have a far higher number of deaths attributed to some of the consequences as a result of COVID. Can you tie it directly? Some of it can be, some of it can't be, some of it's circumstantial. For example, the National Highway Traffic Safety Commission says that we have a 15-year high for fatality collisions in the United States, and we've experienced that in our community. We have a much higher rate of fatality collisions this year than we've had for 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And it's significant, and it has to do with speed and other things. That's one piece to it. We've lost quite a few people in collisions this year. Our overdose rates, some of the data is not necessarily in, but our overdose rates, our officers are seeing and the health department is seeing a higher number of overdose rates than we've had in the past. Our sexual assault rates, the number of sexual assaults, we've had so many, we've had to pull one of our deputies off the streets and put another detective in our detective division because the sexual assaults have gone through the roof. Our domestic violence situations, even in King County, the domestic violence homicide rate doubled this year. Doubled. And I mean, that's pretty significant when it's a homicide as a result of domestic violence stuff. So those are some of the things that are occurring. Some of the other things, suicide rates. We've had a tremendous amount of suicides in our community. We've had students that are failing at alarming rates in our schools because they don't get a chance to get together. They're not being accountable with the teachers. There's just so many dynamics involved with this. Mental health crises are through the roof, and they're projecting even more as a result of isolation and different things. So one of the things that the sheriff and I were talking about earlier, and we really want to encourage the community, is if you have friends or neighbors that live near to you, you don't have to obviously go over to their house, but stay in touch with one another, rally around each other. The election's done, so some of that conflict that separates people is done. Let's rally together as a community and start supporting each other better than we ever have, because we need each other to make it through these issues and these things that are coming up. And it's extremely important because we can't do it on our own. And when people are by themselves, your mind wanders, all these different things. So we really got to reach out and support one another. Write cards to neighbors and friends. Send an email, send a text, check in with each other. If you know somebody that's by themselves, check in with them. There's just so many things we as a community, being small and knowing each other, can do that a lot of the cities can't do. And we really want to encourage people to rally around supporting each other so we can make it through this and the echo pandemic doesn't become even that much bigger.
Are you finding that a lot of these calls and numbers that you're seeing on the increase, are you getting calls for those beforehand, or are you finding out that you're having to deal with this stuff after, meaning that folks aren't reaching out and dialing 911? We
have a little bit of both. So you have some people that are reaching out more than they ever have, and then you have other people that are just not. It's situationally.
It's really tough, Jeff. I know that I've had so many phone calls. You're aware that we do 2 breakfasts a month. But so many people call us and beg us to go back to having those. And as recently as today or yesterday, the governor announced we're shutting down a number of other businesses.
Yeah.
And what Chief is talking about is the offshoot just from that, thinking about the people that are in the restaurant or entertainment industry, how that's affecting them, or people that are in the health and fitness industry, how that's affecting them. The stresses on those people that are business on the edge. And that causes those stresses at home and those stresses in our community. And so I think what the chief is saying is overall, and when you do, we are in a community, like he says, we're very small here. Many of us grew up here. You know, you've got other people you can support in the community by, hey, if it's a drive-up, normally a sit-down restaurant, and you can go in and get something, you know, please lend them your business if you can to help these people get by over the next few months. We hear, you know, good things are coming in the area of the viruses, the way we're going to be able to handle that with new vaccines possibly. But in that interim, it's really stressful for people, and we just happen to be on a side of it in an industry that sees that from both sides. We're watching it happen all the time, and I think that's a great reason that Ryan has brought these things to your attention.
You mentioned the increased numbers of drugs and alcohol use, and you guys are in a stressful profession, and we talk about that a lot. What are some of the things that you guys do to act as a stress relief or a way to shake off the stressors of the day at the end of one of your shifts that can be highly charged, highly emotional at times perhaps? I'm thinking about folks who don't have professions that are as life and death as yours, but still face a lot of stress. What's something that you guys try to do at the end of your day to refocus and resettle and then reconnect with your families?
I think, and Ryan is an expert in this area, I think it's physical fitness. Being able to go out and exercise and do those things. I'm tremendously worried as a former school teacher and health teacher as to what's happening or been happening in our youth for many, many years when we started to cut back on PE as a class and those kind of things. You're talking about a stress reliever, not just a fitness issue in that way, but it's one of those secondary things that relieves stress for kids. And for us, I think that's an area that's great for us. And I'll let Ryan comment on this, but since the time that I started in law enforcement, I've noticed in our profession, you know, everybody laughs about the donut eating cops. Okay, it's a big joke. Take a look around at our office and look at the level of fitness that our people have. Yeah. And it's really changed, in my opinion, over the years. Those days of the typical what they want to put out there is fine and funny to joke about. You go into most offices nowadays and take a look at our fitness level compared to many, many other professions, and I think we're leading the way. So it's not, you know, we have fitness facilities in our buildings. We look at especially the young people coming in now, or quite a few years ago that started to change. And you come in and you look, and I'm very proud of our office in the way that most of our folks have taken care of themselves, but I think that's a huge part. I'll let Ryan handle that.
For me, it's the 3 F's: faith, family, and fitness. And those are the ways that I deal with it. I'm also very much a verbal communicator, and I'm a social person. So I try to stay in touch with as many people. I've actually started a new thing this week, actually 2 weeks ago, because I just got over the COVID virus and I was home for 2 weeks, and that's the longest I've ever been home in my whole life.
Oh, wow.
And I started a gratitude journal, and every day I'm writing things that I'm grateful for, and then I've also started writing a note to a friend or a family member, thanking them for something and looking for the good. And that's one of those things that it's rather interesting. If you look at the research, it actually has what's called neuroplasty. It rewires the frontal cortex of the brain to be positive, and they've done a lot of research. They took 300 college students that had come in for counseling for depression, and they put one group, they had to do those 2 things. They took another group and they said they journaled anything that frustrated them. They took a third group and they could journal whatever came to their mind. The group that journaled gratitude thoughts was 30% less depressive thoughts. They had a list of 25 things that they improved in, and it actually rewires the brain. So I'm even practicing that type of stuff. It's like a fitness program for our brain. It's just the way we're designed, and it's really cool.
Good information, and again, we're all in this together until the vaccine comes. We can't just sit around and do nothing. We have to be proactive and be helpful to the other community members in our society so we can get to the point where a vaccine is available for us. The Sheriff's Sit Down this week and every week brought to you by our Community Credit Union, where holiday quick bucks are back for a limited time. Check with them for details. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Chief Deputy Spurling, good to see you guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.